Indie Beacon Radio with host B Alan Bourgeois. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Indie Beacon Radio. This is your host, B Alan Bourgeois. It helps if I kind of am in that picture there a little better. We have with us Amy. Hi, Amy. Welcome.
Hi, Alan. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So we're going to start off with some basic questions about who you are and what got you into this and stuff. I understand that as a very young child, about 8 years of age, your parents bought you a typewriter, a toy typewriter. What was the motivation for that? How did they decide to do that?
I think they were tired of me sitting around scribbling all the time, and they thought, well, let's help her get a little more efficient, and they got me a Kmart snappy blue typewriter. All caps.
Yeah, which makes it a challenge, but
yeah.
Something fun. So out of that, did you write stories or things or anything of fun?
I did right away. In fact, I still have some of them. I have an old Trapper Keeper. It's pink because, you know, when you're 8 years old, Trapper Keepers back in the day, pink ones were really cool. And I saved some of my all caps stories in that Trapper Keeper.
Do you, by chance, read them to your children or any other children?
I have not. I should, but they have read some of my books.
Okay. So obviously you enjoyed writing. What was the inspiration for writing? What was that one point that says, I want to write?
Wow. It's just kind of been something I've always loved to do ever since I was a kid. In fact, I would lose sleep, I remember, as a teenager sometimes because I'd get this really big idea and it would be going through my head. And so yeah, it was just kind of something I feel like I was born with. But Alan, I'm also a big reader. My mother's a big reader, my sister, my niece, all of us have a passion. And I think that passion for the reading and loving books as much as we all did just really helped motivate me to want to write stories and books.
So you at least had a good family background of reading and the encouragement of words and stuff like that. So do you remember the stories that you wrote? Were they kind of like fantasy or just children's stories or what?
I actually do. I wrote about my adventures basically as a child and a teenager to start. And then really when I got closer to college, that's when I started to create just my own stories. I remember this one story about a young man who goes into a fantasy world and battles all these evils. And I can't even remember how it ended, sadly. I haven't looked at that one in years. But then I started to branch off and to do other things, romance, etc.
Okay. So out of curiosity, because mostly we're going to be talking about one particular book, but you've got others. So tell us a little bit about the other ones.
Well, I'm going to tell you about my real books because when I first started in the self-publishing world, I went the freebie route, and you can kind of tell. So I like to tell people about the books that I really invested in. And that first one would be one called Hoop Mama. And that was a novel based on something that I do as a hobby. I'm a hoop dancer, so with a hula hoop, basically. And one day while walking my dogs, which, Alan, that's when I'm always struck with inspiration, is walking my dogs. When walking them, I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if there were a national hoop contest? And there was this woman who was really good at hoop dancing, and she got trained by this guy and they fell in love, and she was really introverted and it brought her out of her shell, and all of a sudden Hoop Mama was born. And that was my first one. I published that through Fast Pencil, and I did invest some money, so it looks like a very good product. I wish I had a copy today. The only copy I have is my recent one, but that one is available still on Amazon. So that was fiction. And then I kind of stumbled into my first nonfiction book, and that was in the summer of 2018. I signed up to take a course on how to get your book published. Didn't realize it was how to get your nonfiction book published. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't do nonfiction. What the heck am I going to do? Well, on one of those walks with my dogs that summer, it was the summer of 2018, right before the course, I thought, everybody always tells me that I do different things at work to bring joy to others, that not everybody does. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to write a book about how to bring joy to the workplace? Don't we all need that now more than ever? And so the idea for Joy to You and Me at Work was born. And that was my first nonfiction self-help book through Telltale Publishing, which is my current publisher.
Okay, so let's step back a moment, because being a nonfiction, you usually have to have some form of expertise for this. So what is your expertise to make people happy?
Well, number one, I live it every day. But there's a couple different things. Even back in college, I was voted most enthusiastic by my service fraternity. I've always been a very positive person. And I taught the Dale Carnegie course for 10 years. And Dale Carnegie, some of your viewers may not be familiar with him. Dale Carnegie wrote the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he then had a course based on that book. And that was talking about people skills and good human relations and other things like how to overcome worry and stress. But he really stressed enthusiasm as well. And that was a natural fit for the kind of person I already was. And so for 10 years, I instructed people about how to be more enthusiastic and joyful in their lives. And when I was doing that, I was taking the things I was teaching and learning and doing that in my workplaces. So I lived it, I learned it, I taught it, and that's how I started.
So a good question to follow up on that is, do you actually do speaking engagements discussing this with either corporate or just general speaking events?
I do. Most of the time they've been around central Indiana where I live, but probably the biggest speaking event that I did was for our mayor's prayer breakfast. I live in Noblesville, which is just northeast of Indianapolis, and they were looking for a speaker and they couldn't find anybody, and I was working for the mayor at the time, and I said, I'll talk. And so I gave a talk. It talked about how to relieve worry and stress, but I also talked about how to be joyful and positive and how that can help kind of lighten your world as well.
So you mentioned Lighten Your World, and we only have a couple minutes left of the segment, but I want to go ahead and touch upon your book. It's an interesting concept, of course, and we all need it because it's called Lighten Your Mental Load. So I'm assuming that this, there you go, I'm assuming that this previous book of laughter and workplace joy moved into that particular book, or was there something else that moved you into this?
Actually, what moved me into this book was, Alan, I entered the sandwich generation in November of 2016. My mother moved down here. She's just 5 minutes away in an assisted living facility. And suddenly, I thought I was balancing everything well in my life between work and taking care of my kids and my household and my husband. And having her move down here just kind of tipped the scales. And I thought, oh my gosh, I got to figure out how to make things better in my life because I'm going crazy. And I saw the term mental load just a few months later in early 2017. And I thought, wow, somebody needs to write a book about how to lighten that mental load.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop right here because there's a lot to unpack on that subject. But we're going to step away, let our sponsors do their thing. We'll be right back.
I'm Rox Berkey.
And I'm Charles Brakefield. We're award-winning co-authors, Brakefield and Berkey, of the Enigma book series. There are 10 books in the series, with book number 11 planned for release in January 2020.
Each story has a central technology focus ranging from identity theft to cryptocurrency and now AI wars. These adult techno thrillers pit cyber good guys against cyber thugs across the darknet.
In our world, technology is today's weapon of choice. You can enjoy ebook format, paper, or Audible. We want your feedback.
Until the next story, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Randy James, independent voiceover producer in the Dallas, Texas area, available to write and record a 30-second commercial, much like the one you're hearing right now. It's a great way to help increase awareness and exposure to your book title. It's easy to do. Simply call me and we'll brainstorm on a few ideas, and in a few hours, I'll whip something up and send you a digital file ready to use. Remember, call or text me, Randy James, at 214-762-1942.
Welcome to IndieLector.store, an online bookstore where the discriminating reader can find award-winning books. IndieLector.store is not a big corporation, so we can give up to 80% of the sales directly to the author. Help us support them by buying a great book at IndieLector.store.
Join us for the 6th Annual Authors Marketing Event in Granbury, Texas on July 23rd to the 25th, 2021, where authors share ideas and learn from the professionals over a 2-day weekend. Receive your book marketing certification from the only organization in the world that has been doing it for 5 years, Authors Marketing Guild, a membership-based organization that supports authors from around the world. Learn more at ame.authorsmarketingguild.com. Sponsored by IndieLector.store, a bookstore that pays authors their fair share.
Hello, I am the author and poet Denise Bryson. I am the author of The Things That Cross My Mind, Love's Reality, both in book and audio form. I am also noted as one of the best poets of 2011. I have 2 new projects coming up. One is the Blinky series, where Blinky tells us all about our coins and our bills for our children. I also have a book coming out called Say Ye. It's quotes from Denise Bryson, just inspirational and that will help you along the way.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Sure.
All righty. And welcome back. This is your host, B Alan Bourgeois, and I have Amy Shankland, correct?
Yes, Shankland.
Okay. I wanted to throw an R in there, but Shankland. We have been talking about your book, which is known as Lighten Your Mental Load. So with COVID, with everything else going on, that has got to be a very demanding topic at this point in time. So you got into that aspect of, here's your mom coming in, you've got your kids, as you said, you're the sandwich generation, so which means you're a caretaker, both for older and younger. So how did you start to realize how to lighten your load to make it smoother and easier?
Technology was a huge first point. I'm not great with technology. I always tell people that I'm technologically challenged, but I started to realize that it could be a big help in my life. And I write a lot about this in the book. So starting off with using my phone a little bit more and learning how to take notes and do reminders and do a calendar on there. We also got a speaker, a home speaker, Alexa, for my husband a couple of Christmases ago, and actually I use it more than him now. So those things started to help me. But I thought, there's got to be other things I can do out there. And so as I wrote the book, I was living and implementing a lot of the things that I was talking about throughout. And that has really helped me. I am so much better because I wrote this book, and I really hope it helps others as well.
So what would you say are the top 3 key points that you really want to stress? I'm sure there's a lot more than that. So we don't want to give away too much, and we want people to buy and read the book. But give me your top 3.
Oh, wow, that's a good one. Well, first of all, we all have to work together to realize how prevalent this is and how it's harming women, especially in our society. It's not just women, and I want to stress that. There's a lot of men that have the mental load, but unfortunately, a lot of women carry it. It's just, our mothers carried it, our grandmothers carried it, but they weren't working, a lot of them. And now most of us are working and carrying all these tasks in our head that have to be done. So number one, as a society, we have to realize that things have to shift, especially in the workplace too. A lot of times in the workplace, people are expected to, it's the woman that goes home and takes care of the kiddos or does these things. And there has to be more of a balance. So we have to work together as a society to realize it can't be all on women's shoulders anymore. That's the first thing. Second thing overall that I stress when I talk about what causes the mental load is more. And I think that's obvious for a lot of us. We have more cars. We have more than one job supporting a family. We have more hobbies, more ways to vacation. We're working more hours. And so with all this more comes this mental load. And so one thing we can do is try to scale back on that, which is challenging, but any way you can scale back on certain things can really help. So that's another thing. And I would say finally is find those tools to help lighten the mental load, whether that's technology that I talked about earlier, ordering some things online a little bit more often, maybe ordering your groceries online, which a lot of us are doing anyway with this pandemic. But like for me, for instance, I shop in person at Aldi and then I pick up groceries at Meijer, and it's just simplified my life tremendously. So using the things that are available to us, there's so many great things. There's meal planning services online. You can order your pet supplies, but I also stress, don't just do everything online. That's not good either. You want to support your local businesses, but take advantages of the ways to make your life easier. Yes, you do spend a little bit more money, but research shows that if we spend more money on these things, sometimes we're a heck of a lot happier than if we were to buy material things. So let's see, change in society, technology, more. I think that's 3 points.
Yeah. So I want to go back to the society aspect, because as you were talking, one of the things that came to mind over the past few years is it takes a village. Mm-hmm. That concept that everybody has to chip in and be supportive of everybody else. And that sounded similar to what you were saying, if not almost identical. Even in your home, you have a mini village there. That you have your husband, your kids, your mom, everybody can chip in and help to smooth everything out for everybody.
Yes, and I stress that in the book too. I don't want to say that, you can just suddenly do everything online and hire a housekeeper, although I do have somebody come clean once a month, which I'm not ashamed to admit anymore. But yes, I do talk about how it's important to delegate certain things, and it's good for everybody if we share the load. My sons are 18 and 19, and they've got jobs and they're going to college, so they can't do a ton, but certainly they mow the lawn, they trim, they take care of the kitty box and other things like that, and we all do pitch in together. But for the deep cleaning, we do hire somebody. But yes, delegating is extremely important, and I do stress that. And we have to remember too, when we delegate, to really let that task go, because our husband, our spouse, I should say, and our kids are not going to do the same types of things that we do in the way we do it. So we have to delegate and then let that go, which is hard for me to remember.
It's hard for a lot of people to remember that. I truly understand that. So you've got fiction books and you have nonfiction books. So those are two totally different types of writing systems. But earlier you mentioned that there are times you can be laying in bed and an idea comes to your mind. So how do you process your writing skills? Are they similar for both types, or are they really different?
They are similar. I'm a really organized person and I'm a planner. So whenever a book idea hits me, I'm an outline girl. And my favorite thing to do is just get good old pen and paper, sit on my front porch swing, or, if it's a yucky day, just in my favorite chair, and just take a couple hours on a quiet Sunday afternoon and just outline and just kind of get the direction of where I'm going in my book. That's just how I operate best. And I feel good having a direction of where I'm going. So I don't often get that writer's block. So that's how I typically start. And I'm very strange. I don't like to write too much in nice weather. I'm a fall and winter girl. So when it's yucky and I can be inside, that's my prime writing time. That hopefully will change maybe when I'm a full-time author and I don't have to work a 9-to-5 job during the day. But for right now, that's how I roll. And I write in the evenings and weekends.
And you also do grants for people. Mm-hmm. That must take up a chunk of time.
It does. I have my own grant consulting business, and I now have 3 team members that subcontract with me. So we are very busy. But we all believe in a good work-life balance, and I've stressed that from the beginning when I hired them. And so we keep it under control because I have the mental load and I don't want it to go crazy. So
we have just about 2 minutes left. So I'm curious, what is your next project?
Well, it's funny. I did a big 180 on this about 3 or 4 months ago. I was originally going to write a book about being in the sandwich generation, but then with what happened in our world with George Floyd and so many others, one of my clients actually inspired me. He works with a neighborhood with many cultures. And I was talking to him one day and I said, I'm just a dumb white girl. And it struck me. I thought, no, I'm not really dumb. And I'm certainly not a girl anymore, but I have a lot to learn about this world of inequity that we're living in. And so my next book is going to be called Interviews with a Dumb White Girl. And I'm going to talk to 12 individuals, Black, Latinx, Asian, LGBTQ, people with disabilities, and others to learn about their stories. And then once I learn about them, I want to share them with the world. And I can go into that more if we're running out of time. I can go into it more of that later.
Oh, no, that's perfectly fine. So this is a good spot for us to take a break, let our sponsors do their thing. We'll be right back.
Thank you for watching or listening to Indie Beacon Radio. Our sponsor, IndieLector.store, is the only bookstore that pays authors their fair share for book sales. Help authors to succeed and enjoy a great book by supporting them at IndieLector.store. Enjoy a 10% discount with coupon code SHOPPER20 at IndieLector.store. Coupon valid until December 31st, 2020. That's IndieLector.store, coupon code SHOPPER20.
What started as a love letter to her son has become an international love letter for all parents to their children. Now you can read acclaimed author Shanalee Charbonneau's story to your children. When her son was very sick, she calmed him by singing her own song to him. She turned that song into the book, My Mama Loves Me, I'm Her Little Boy. She wrote 3 more magical books for all parents and kids 6 and under. Available at Indie Lector, Amazon, and all local and national outlets.
Dear Texas is proud to present the Lone Star Festival on May 29, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., where Texas authors, artists, and creatives come together for a Texas-sized event at the Seguin Coliseum, Seguin, Texas. Sponsored by Indie Lector, Authors Marketing Guild, and the City of Seguin. A perfect event for those who enjoy the creative arts. Register for your free tickets and prizes at lonestar.bookfestival.network. Authors Marketing Guild is a membership-owned organization designed to help authors succeed and learn how to better market and sell themselves and their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com and receive so many benefits you'll wonder why you didn't join sooner. That's authorsmarketingguild.com.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
All right, welcome back. We are at the end of our show, just about. My name is B Alan Bourgeois, and you're watching Indie Beacon. We used to call it Indie Beacon Radio. Now it's Indie Beacon Show because we are on Amazon TV as well as all the podcasts. And I have with me Amy Shanklin. We've been talking about Amy's latest book, Lighten Your Mental Load, and some of her other stories that she's written. So let's start with the basics. How can people find your books?
Okay, well, Amazon's the best way to go. Lighten Your Mental Load is available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. And right now, with a lot of people not going out, that's the best route. You can actually go to Telltale Publishing's site. I wish I could just fire that off here. It's www.wisewordspublishing.com. and get it. And of course, you can go on my site. I just have a simple WordPress site. It's author Amy Thornton, THORNTON at wordpress.com. And that's my pen name is Amy Thornton.
Okay. And if people wanted to reach out to you for speaking engagements and things of that nature, how can they find you other than your website? Okay.
Easiest thing to do is probably my email, and that's grantsavenue@gmail.com. Are you comfortable? Are you okay if I share my cell, or should I not?
No.
Okay.
Email's more than sufficient. That and the website. But do you have social media like Twitter, Facebook, any of that?
Yes, Facebook. It's at author Thornton. Twitter, I'm not on very much, Alan. I think I'm just going to keep it to Facebook. I need to work more on that. That's one of my weaknesses.
Not a problem. So you mentioned that you are working on the next book, and you're going to be interviewing people. It's a great title, I think. It should be interesting to see the response you get for that. What other things are you got brewing in the back of your mind?
Well, after I'm done with this one, which I anticipate it's going to take quite a while to do, but my next one, I do want to get back to the Sandwich Generation book. I do a column for our local newspaper called Sandwiched. I've been doing this now for almost 2 years, and I'm going to take a lot of those columns and put that into a book as well, because there are millions of us taking care of our own families and elderly relatives. And I think it's a good thing to laugh together sometimes and to just commiserate a little bit. People have really enjoyed my columns, and so that will be my next book. I think I'm just going to simply call it Sandwiched, which is what my column is. So that'll probably be after interviews with a dumb white girl.
It almost sounds like you'd be working on both of them at the same time, since you've already written the columns. It's just a matter of choosing them and putting them in order and stuff.
That's true.
Yeah. With that, I want to thank you very much for being with us. It's been a pleasure, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website.
Indie Beacon Radio with the host, B Alan Bourgeois. Indie Beacon Radio is produced by B Alan Bourgeois for Authors Marketing Guild LLC, copyright 2020. Voiceover by Randy James, Lydia Bello, and B Alan Bourgeois. To be a sponsor of the show or for more information, please email us at info@authorsmarketingguild.com. To be interviewed for the show, please complete the form at radio.authorsmarketingguild.com. Music Always Rejoice by Ramcord